Hello, I'm Penno, and today I'll tell you a new story. Once upon a time, in a distant forest, there was a small fairy garden. In this garden, there were colorful flowers, sweet fruits, and cute animals. The fairies of the garden worked hard to protect and beautify nature. Each fairy was responsible for a part of the garden. The red fairy was in charge of the flowers, the yellow fairy, the stars, the blue fairy, the water. The white fairy took care of the trees. The fairies of the garden lived very happily and harmoniously. But one day, a witch came to the garden. The witch did not harmonize with the fairies at all. The witch was jealous of the beauty of the garden. She wanted to spoil the garden. The witch sneaked into the garden and set magical traps on the paths where the fairies would go. The fairies were bewitched by the traps. The fairy garden was now neglected. The red fairy went to the flowers. She started to speak, sadly. "I can't take care of the flowers anymore." Yellow fairy excitedly replied to red fairy. "I can't keep the stars in order either." White fairy called out to her friends in surprise. "Friends, I can't power the trees, please help me." Blue fairy also called out to her friends sadly. "Oh, the waters are not clear. My magic is not working." "No, it can't be," she said and went to her fairy friends. The witch thought she had spoiled the garden. She had put the fairies' magic in a cage. The witch started talking happily. "No one will be happy anymore." But there was something she didn't know. There was another fairy in the garden. This fairy was the smallest and cutest fairy in the garden. The other fairies didn't notice her. Her name was Light Fairy. The Light Fairy shone light all over the garden, but she was so small that no one could see her. The Light Fairy couldn't talk to anyone either. She was shy and kept to herself. On the day the witch came, the Light Fairy was in her secret corner. She was sleeping in the far corner of the garden. The witch could not see her. When the Light Fairy woke up, she saw that the garden was not the same. "Hey, what happened to this garden? Why are the fairies so sad?" The Light Fairy wandered around curiously. She went to the witch's house. She realized that the fairies' magic was in a cage. The Light Fairy was very brave. She immediately moved to help the other fairies. "Don't worry, friends. I will help us all." The Light Fairy went to the cage. She looked for a key to open the cage door. But there was no key. The Light Fairy created a light hot enough to melt the bars of the cage. The bars melted and broke. She let the fairies' magic out of the cage. The Light Fairy called out to her friends, "Let's hurry. We have to hurry to save the garden." The fairies thanked the Light Fairy. Then they ran to the garden. The Red Fairy tended the flowers. She called out to her friends. "Yes, the flowers have come to life. Look how beautiful they are." The Yellow Fairy blew the wind. She shouted happily. "Now the sky is back the way it was. Everything is shining." The Blue Fairy made the waters flow. She answered excitedly. "Friends, the water is clear too. Look at the beauty of the water." The White Fairy strengthened the trees. She cried out with joy. "The trees are stronger now. It's festive around." The Light Fairy happily called out to her friends, "Let everything shine. Let the fairy garden be restored." And so the garden came to life again. Flowers, fruits, and animals were healthy again. The Fairy of Light spoke to the witch. "Sweet witch, you can be friends with us. We can have fun together. The fairy garden will be more beautiful when we are happy together, and you can help us." Thinking about the words of the Light Fairy, the lovely witch was very happy. The witch realized that what she had done had led to negative things. "Dear fairy friends, I apologize to you. I didn't think you could love me. You are right. We can be happy together." The witch realized that, with love, she would experience beautiful things. The magic of togetherness was to connect with love. The lovely witch also realized that love is beautiful. She helped the fairies to restore her garden. The fairies were very happy to save the garden, and the lovely witch became their friend. The fairies of the garden and the lovely witch lived happily and peacefully. The fairy garden became a garden of happy moments and love togetherness.